What's up, YouTube? Hope you're all doing well. I got a pretty sweet league for you here, as you can tell from the title of the video. Doing a little post-league introduction, as well as the first match. So I'll get into that in a second. The league that I ran through was with Esper Frog here, Esper Kaito, Esper Riddler, Esper Tasigur, whatever we're calling it at the moment. It's my take on Dimir mid-range in the main, splashing a little bit of white stuff in the sideboard. For the most part, fairly stock-ish. Some of the recent changes we've been trying out. A copy of Spell Pierce over the second copy of Spell Snare to help out with all the Cascade running around online. We've got 4 Counterspell, 4 Force Negation, 4 Subtlety, 4 Quantum Riddler, to be able to jam all these free spells as aggressively as possible, refill our hand with Quantum Riddler in the mid to late game. We've got 2 copies of Drown in the lock. Definitely one that is not as played, as popular at the moment, but I've been interested in going back up on more versatile spells at the moment. Drown in the Lock, a great example of a card that's kind of been pressed out of the meta by the prevalence of things like Flage escaping the graveyard and exiling all those resources. So Drown in the Lock now being a possible interaction point for decks like Cascade, for any of the aggressive creature decks like Energy and Hammer Time and stuff still around. So seeing how that works out. In the sideboard, we've got a copy of Stony Silence for Affinity, 2 Harbinger of the Seas, 3 Mystical Dispute, 4 Consign to Memory, Teferi Time Reveler, and a Chalice of the Void, mostly for the Cascade decks, and 3 Pest Control for Affinity, for Rhinos, anything like that. So let's go ahead and hop into it. I do have to give a warning. The very first match I played ahead of time, it is going to be a voiceover of the replay. But all 4 of the other matches are live from the stream, so you get to see the live reactions of all those. Hopefully you stick around through the first one and get to watch the rest of the league. Other than that, enjoy. If you're not following, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. Doesn't cost you anything, just lets you know whenever a new video goes live, so you can check out what kind of sweet Dimir stuff we got going on. You can also check out links down below to stuff like the Discord if you want to come talk about all things Frog, or come hang out, chat about whatever your favorite archetype is. Other than that, let's go ahead and hop on into it. All right, as mentioned, the first match, and only the very first match, is going to be a voiceover of the replay. So let's go ahead and get that started. Talk about some of the decision points, what kind of stuff happened, didn't happen, and what we can learn from it. So we are on the play. Our opening 7 looks pretty good. We do have some threats. We have a piece of interaction in Fatal Push. We've got our lands under control. And if we surveil some stuff to the yard, maybe if this Bowmaster gets taken care of or Fatal Push gets used, we could Tasigur as early as turn 3. So we got a Surveil. We see a Drown in the Lock. We're going to hold on to that because with the Bowmasters and the Fatal Push, if our opponent's on any sort of creature deck, we're going to be interacting with stuff early and often that'll get Drown in the Lock online. If they are a non-creature deck, like say Tron, this hand's atrocious into them anyway. We might as well make it worse. But really, it's a hedge against something like Cascade, just being able to keep a non-removal spell piece of interaction on top so that we might be able to answer it that way. Opponent plays a Hedge Maze and Go. So the immediate thought is they're on a Cascade build, Living End, Rhinos, something like that. Especially right now with Violent Outburst just coming off the ban list. Everything's Rhinos. They pass back, land, Summoner's Pact. Okay, so Snow-Covered Island Summoner's Pact means this is immediately Neo brand. We know it's Neo brand. They're the only deck that's going to be casting Summoner's Pact on turn 2. Now, there's options here. And this is where it's really heads up to think a step ahead. So if my opponent has got Pact of Negation, I can't win anyway, right? Because they're going to get to go get, or if I Drown in the Loch the Summoner's Pact, they get to go get Allosaurus Rider, or if I Drown in the Loch, they Pact of Negation might Drown in the Loch. They get to go get Allosaurus Rider, play it, Neoform it, go do the stuff, win the game. And I don't have anything that can interact with that. So, since I can't beat Summoners, or I can't beat Pact of Negation, I might as well try to high roll. Summoner's Pact is going to put a card in the graveyard, and then if they get Allosaurus Rider, play it out, and then Neoform, sacking the Allosaurus Rider is part of the cost of casting Neoform, which means that Allosaurus Rider is in the graveyard while the Neoform is still on the stack. That puts second card in the yard, so I can actually Drown in the Loch the Neoform. It does open me up to the possibility of losing to an Endurance here if they have Summoner's Pact, Allosaurus Rider, play it out. I go to Drown the Neoform and the Endurance. But that would involve them having the Pact here to go get the Rider, double green card, Neoform, Endurance, and another green card for Endurance. That's perfect 6 cards out of the 6 cards that they have available. I think I'm willing to take that risk. So I'm going to let the Summoner's Pact resolve. This also means that they have to pay for Pact on their next turn if this works. So Neoform, as mentioned, sacking the Allosaurus Rider, part of the cost of the Neoform. So now I can target Neoform with Drown in the Loch. Opponent does not have the counter back, so now I get a free turn out of them with them having to pay for Pact, and they're pretty high or pretty low on resources. The fetch here, I want to maximize my surveils. I want to try to draw more counter spells. I know that they can't kill me this upcoming turn because they have to consign to memory the Pact trigger. They haven't scooped yet, so I assume they have a consign to memory in hand. They have to consign to memory the Pact trigger. They've got 2 cards left and a draw for turn. So even if they have Allosaurus Rider 2 green cards, they can't have land and Neoform in addition to that. So I'm feeling very safe here. I want to get my Surveil, like I said, to try to maximize my ability of finding a counterspell. And if I find anything that's not a counterspell, I can flip it into the graveyard, play out Tasigur right here, and start getting ahead. Unfortunately, we do actually see counterspell, so that gets left on top. I have to settle for an Orcish Bowmaster. It's going to Planar Genesis. You got it. Now, again, this is a spot where you have to recognize what your opponent has available to them. My opponent has got 2 cards in hand, drawing up to a third with 3 lands in play. So they cannot Allosaurus Rider, pitch 2 green cards to cast it, and have Neoform in only 3 cards. So because I'm never dead this upcoming turn, it makes sense to just go ahead and get Tasigur down, get my clock going. I've got my counterspell in hand still. Now, this is funny. They do have main deck Endurance. Thankfully, they didn't have it when I went for the Drown in the Loch. They just have it in Ambush Viper mode here, but we get to take that out. Now our opponent is on a 2-turn clock once we flash in this Bowmasters, plus we have a counter spell up, so. And only 1 card in hand. They decide to scoop it up. No possible way for them to combo kill us there. So going into game 2, sideboarding against Neoform. I'm boarding out all the Fatal Pushes. I do know that Neoform can transition into an Ice Fang Coatl Oculus deck post board. I'm not going to respect that until I see it. So especially if I win game one, I'm assuming that's not going to be the plan until they show me that that's what they're actually doing. So all the fatal pushes are coming out, a couple bowmasters and a kaito coming out, because I want to get the mystical disputes in, the harbingers in, bring in Chalice of the Void, and bring in Teferi Time Reveler. Now, I will warn you before we get to the hand to see what our 7 looks like here. This is probably one of the most atrocious games of Magic the Gathering you will ever see in your life. So if that's problematic, turn away now. Like, go get a barf bag, whatever you got to do. I know people from the Discord are going to give me a hard time for it. Tough luck. So the first 7 I look at is Archive, couple Riddlers, Subtlety, Frog. Does have a Chalice of the Void. Tasigur, no black mana. So obviously I keep this. Realistically, I keep this for a couple reasons. One, I'm on the draw with a Surveil land. So I have a pretty good chance of finding another land. I got like 3 looks at it to find a second land to get down Frog, get down Tasigur, whatever the case may be. I've got Chalice of the Void that shuts off Summoner's Pact, so they have to actually draw the Allosaurus Rider. And I've got Subtlety to fight over Allosaurus Rider on the stack off one of these Quantum Riddlers or the Frog or whatever. So really all I'm looking for is second land. Or Black Source specifically. And I'm on the draw, got some time. Spell Pierce is a good draw. Don't need a third Quantum Riddler. Here's a Chalice of the Void. Opponent bends a Pact of Negation. So Chalice of the Void already doing its job here. Thankfully, they also keep a 1-lander. We don't find a second land. Opponent, I believe, does find a second land, but nothing to do off of it. We've got 37 pieces of interaction. We just, need to find the mana to cast them. Here's Allosaurus Rider. Decide to go for Subtlety off of one of the Quantum Riddlers. At the end of the day, like, this Allosaurus Rider is exiling 2 green cards. So if I'm able to kind of keep on par with these Allosaurus Riders, I could fight over a Neoform. And if I go that route, I probably win the game if they go for Neoform. But my fear here is that they're just not going to go for Neoform. They're just going to put Allosaurus Rider into play. And I have like no actual outs for that. So I really want to fight over this Allosaurus Rider. When they go for Consign and don't replicate it, the assumption is immediately, okay, they've got a Veil of Summer, but I can fight over that. I do have to give up some resources, but they're also giving up a lot in this fight. And I really believe that these kind of exchanges favor me because they're limited on the number of Allosaurus Riders they have. So they're limited in the number of opportunities they have to actually go off. And I've got a lot of good top decks. Like, any Black Source is fantastic. There's 2 Allosaurus Riders down. Other piece of interaction for another Allosaurus Rider. Well, we've got 3 of our 5 non-black producing lands out. There's another island. There is a Sink into Stupor. But again, like, even though I'm not doing anything, I don't feel too bad because I do have 3 pieces of interaction up despite all of the fighting that we've done. They're sinking to Stupor, playing it out just to have Hardcast Force Negation plus Mystical Dispute. Well, Tasigur is not getting cast just yet. And here we are, flashing in his subtlety to try to get a clock going. Eats a Mystical Dispute. And finally, we have our Black Source. On turn 13, we are going to be casting out this Tasigur. I could go for the Thoughtseize here. Veil of Summer would be a little bit annoying. I think I would rather just get down the clock. In this case, I can get down the Tasigur, exile some stuff out of the graveyard I don't want to get back, like this other Tasigur, Spell Pierce, Quantum Riddler. And now I can just like start activating Tasigur with Force Negation up. Opponent draws dead and scoops the match. So Neoform is probably the closest thing we have to a buy in Modern. You can basically like smash your head on the keyboard for 10 minutes and have a reasonable chance of winning the matchup. We just have so much interaction on the stack. We've got really efficient threats. Everything we get down is card advantage for more stuff. Just really, really tough for them to compete. And if they do go for the Ice Fang Coatl Oculus plan post board, then we've got a lot of great ways of dealing with that, not only on the stack, but interaction like removal we can bring back in if we want to. So either way, really good matchup to start off the league. Happy to see that. Now we'll get back to the actual live gameplay so you can see what it looks like to be in a stream with Twitch chat for TTV. What is it? The _ control freak. Yeah. So catch you back live with that momentarily. Maybe now we'll have a Titan stream, less clicking, more just putting Dryad Valakut on the stack as Richard Garfield intended. Do I want to Force Negation? What's playing Thundering Falls? Is this just like prowess? Persis, what's up? Yeah, I'll keep that. In case it is prowess and they try to drop a Quarry Steel Cutter on me. Ah, rhinos. Well, I got a free discard. That's cool. I guess it's Living End, right? I doubt Rhinos is playing Generous Int. Nope. Definitely Living End. So I know I'm going to be discarding you. I can definitely do that. Probably not going to discard anything else just yet. I might want Fatal Push to hit a 3 or a 4 drop. Rhinos doesn't run that crap in. Well, we live in a world of mashup decks, so for all I know, they could. Okay, So opponent's got a violent outburst on our turn. And the question becomes, do they also have the force of negation? Who cares about no force negation? Commercial district. Finally all back together. You got the missing pieces. Corrosive. Corrosive. All right. I'm definitely discarding something. I want to make this a 2-turn clock if I can. I'm going to discard the subtlety too. I discard the force. I think I do. I think I discard the force and just make this a 2-turn clock with 2 pieces of interaction. I guess this is like really bad if they have a sky turtle, but Dreamer, what's up? I just go for it main phase. So you think they've got outburst, double blue card, double force of negation? Udawara. Subtlety. Going from watching your YouTube videos where I can speed it up to 1.5 to the stream is jarring. Bad. Steady, what's up? Yeah, we'll keep the frog. Remember the hydrate. All I got's cherry Pepsi, so that'll have to do. Still a fantastic beverage. How's the league going? Well, I started this league last night, and I got through my first match and was like, I'll just wait and play it tomorrow. And so I did. So I'm 1-0 in the league. This is the first game of round 2. They have another Cascade spell on their turn. Lame. Another hydrate. No. Yet again, still cherry Pepsi. Feel like it's not very hydrating, but all right, so they've got multiple flyers, multiple reachers. Yeah, we'll scoop it up. Go to game 2. We do have some tech for the matchup. I think I'm going to bring in Harbinger against them, especially on the play. They don't run basic mountains, so they can't cast Outburst through a Harbinger. Kind of cool. But they ever unban Outburst? I couldn't tell you. The part about it that still cracks me up is like they had that whole last ban announcement where they were like, oh, nothing needs to change. Look at this sweet Sultai Living In deck that's posting results and like doing well. And that's a sign of good health in the format. And then they're like, but wait, more. Like, let's buff the shit out of that deck. All the spell snare outright. Well, I'm on one spell snare and one spell pierce. So the pierce stays in, the snare comes out. I don't want AI viewers. I want you gone. Yeah, I think I gotta ship this. As much as I want this hand, I need lands. Question for the Outburst Band is like, who asked for this? Well, I don't have a good answer for that. Clearly somebody did. All right, so Cycle Street Wraith, tapped Stomping Ground would lead me to believe that they don't have a copy of Mystical Dispute in hand. So maybe I can get this Harbinger down on 3. That. What do you think about Leyline of the Void for the side against this kind of deck? I don't love it. I don't really like high variance cards like Leyline of the Void, where you have to have it in your opening hand or it's just dead. Okay. Maybe they do have a dispute. Maybe they just kept a one-lander and got lucky. What's my better line? Is it fight over a Cascade on their turn, untap, play a threat, plus consign next turn? I think that is my better line. Just see if they go for... If they go for a Cascader on their turn, and I can fight, and if they don't, I get like Fairy plus consign here or something. Maybe I'm going Harbinger. The Fairy's better, but now that they have 3rd mana, they could have hard cast Force Negation. They have Mystical Dispute. They could be nice and just let this resolve. Yeah, part of the reason I didn't want to just like cast Harbinger there is they could have gotten basic forest off of this, and Shardless Agent would still be in play. That's a pretty good draw. All right, here's a Harbinger. Hardcast Subtlety. Hardcast Subtlety into Consign to Memory. Cast Violent Outburst. Hardcast something. Okay. Option number one is Replicate Consign. That beats a Mystical Dispute or a Force of Negation, and I can still hold up Force. Option number two is not Hardcast Consign and hope that they don't have a Mystical Dispute or a Force. But I could cast second Consign if they do. The advantage there would be like if they don't have a second piece of interaction, I also get to interact with a subtlety. So I think I kind of want to do that. So you mentioned in your video, but when you have a sec, I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on why you're off of Dimir. Is they have Dismember? Got the Outburst, got Force, got Dismember. See, so you mentioned this in your video, but when you have a sec, I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on why you're off of Dimir as the Shadow variant you'd play. I've always preferred Dimir. It's because I don't think Dimir offers, or I don't think Dimir has any benefits being Shadow over like Dimir mid-range. I think in terms of being a blue-black deck, like a blue-black kind of value-oriented deck in Modern, Dimir mid-range is just, or Dimir Shadow is just worse Dimir mid-range. Because you open yourself up to more problems with having to be like aggressive on your life total and such that you don't have as a problem with Dimir mid-range. With the splashes, so like Grixis, you can be a better like expressive iteration deck because your mana cost is lower. Jund, you get to play like Traverse the Elven Wald, or you get to play Temur Battle Rage and that stuff. So like there's a reason to make those changes. But I just think Dimir specifically, there's not an advantage to adding Shadow to your deck. Let's start there, see if that resolves before I make any other moves. Also, I'm playing cards like Abigail. Notice you were off the TBR trick type cards like that and Dress Down. I really like Abigail and Jund because you can tutor it up, but in Grixis and Dimir, it just kind of feels like it's a spot that I don't like playing those one-of copies that you're really hoping line up at the right time, in the right place, in the right spot. And if they don't, then it's just like a dead card in your 75. And if they do, I feel like you get a little bit of confirmation bias. I'd rather just play a card that's like consistently has a higher floor. Got another copy of Violent Outburst. I have a Chalice of the Void on the board. Yeah, we can just put Quantum Riddler back on top. Drawing it plus another card with our Quantum Riddler next turn. And our opponent's just at 3. Think I'm changing anything up for game 3. Last question, I promise. You can ask as many questions as you want, as long as it's not why Tasigur. Notice you're on Moonshadow and Grixis, but not in Dimir. Any thoughts on whether that would improve the pull of the deck? Not really. Dimir's always been more mid-rangey, control-y, and I don't think Moonshadow is like an aggressively slanted 1-drop. I don't think that's the direction of attack you want to take with Dimir. Can I post a goldfish link in chat, or is it going to be deleted? No, go ahead. I have no problem with like links to deck lists and whatnot. The only things that get deleted immediately are when I get a link to go buy followers or viewers from some AI bot website. Those get immediately deleted. Why Tasigur? Sorry, had to. I don't think you had to at all. When it is contemplating. What is your approach in this kind of match? What are you looking for in this game, and how do you handle? My approach for a matchup like this is I want to get some way of getting card advantage down. Like, all of our threats are really, really good in matchups like this because they're not only a clock, but they help out on the card advantage front as well. So like Frog, Kaito, Riddler, all that stuff. I'm trying to look for a hand or look for a spot that doesn't lose to Violent Outburst. That's like the big thing. So the opening hand having 2 answers to Violent Outburst is a big deal. And then I want to have some game going into their mid-range plan, because if they start expecting a lot of consigns and chalices, then they'll just cascade, or they'll just go less in on the cascade plan and more in on like hard casting, endurance and subtlety and whatnot. So on the play, I really want a hand that's like proactive, get a frog down before, because if I get a threat down on my turn 2 or turn 1, I know they can't untap an outburst or cascade on turn 2, their turn 2. So I've got like a turn off. Apparently opponent disconnected. On the draw, that changes up. Like, I'm never jamming a frog on my turn 2 unless I have force negation in hand, because I don't want to be dead to them just like cycling some stuff 1 and 2 and then having a cascader on 3. So on the draw, I'm open to much more reactive hands, which is kind of like what this is. 17 through this, feeling pretty good. Probably need a bit more against fair decks in the sideboard. Any suggestions? Give me 1 second to get through some turns of this game. What do I want to do here? All right, I'm gonna play out a land and pass. I'm not gonna play Chalice of the Void turn 1 because if my opponent has Wistfulness, I don't want them to go like Force Negation, my Chalice. I have to fight, and then they have Wistfulness on their turn to interact or to take out my Chalice. When I can just wait until turn 2 and have like the same line, but a second piece of interaction available. Like now, if they force, I have Dispute, and if they Wistfulness, I've got Consign. Yep, there. But I'm really looking for like a Frog, a Quantum Riddler, Teferi, Harbinger. Yeah, there you go. Think I will go with Flooded Strand, save the Dark Slick for next turn. If I had more than one Dark Slick, I'd probably play it right now to guarantee if I hit another one, it would be untapped. But since I only have one, I can wait until next turn. Playing out Odawara is really good for me. That's like an answer to my Frog or an answer to the Chalice. Might mean they have like a Sink into Stupor in hand. Really good draw as well. Crazy how when your deck is just like full of good draws, you can hit some of them. Am I disputing back? What would be worst case scenario? I dispute back. They have like Beseiju or something to get rid of Chalice into turn. Untap, they have 3 cards, and it's land, Cascade card, Mystical Dispute. That's like the only thing that absolutely wrecks this. Not have anything to get rid of the Chalice into turn. So now the game plan shifts towards I have to deal with hard cast threats, but them not having 4th land means I don't have to worry about subtlety. They don't have 2nd green, so that takes endurance off the table. They can still have plenty of bounce effects for Frog, so I don't really want to go like all in on Frog. Stuff like Sky Turtle's a pain because it's really difficult to throw and jam this Frog. What's better than 1 Frog? 2 Frog. Hold on now. I don't think I'm playing 2nd Frog. I think I'd rather just hold on all of my available interaction. I'm assuming I'm just a matter of time from them answering this chalice. I kind of wanted to just like discard a card into both of these frogs. Avers, what's up? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Back. Not really much of a reason to jam Teferi when they're like losing to what's on board. You have Sink into Stupor. I kind of think I'm just going to let this go. Like, if they want to cast... Well, it would put me to 8, but I could always, like, discard Teferi to a frog or something. So it's not, like, the end of the world there. Go for Teferi. Kind of expecting like a subtlety here. You got it. Three surveils seems like a lot. Not really when you're trying to slow the game down. Like, it's really nice when a lot of the other decks are on like 2 surveils and you have a third just kind of hanging around, especially when it's your splash color. Like, if you were trying to be aggressive, it would be really problematic, but you have so much like cheap and free interaction that that your surveils like coming into play tapped early isn't that big of a deal. I'm going to assume there is a bounce spell of some variety here. Do I want to go for... No, I don't want to go for lethal. Oh boy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tasigur, go. Ah, so they drew all their living ends. Oof. Fair enough. Kind of had that covered. How do you feel about Riddlers? Think they're kind of meh, non-ephemerate lists? It depends on what you're trying to accomplish with Riddler. So, like, my build of Dimir works on card advantage engines. Like, the entire game plan is to use all of this stuff, all this stuff in the first column over here, like super, super, super aggressively. Tasigur as well, like cast these very, very aggressively to start emptying out your hand so that your Quantum Riddlers become warp, draw 2, find some more of these in a couple turns, hard cast, draw 2, find some more of these, and then just start drawing cards every turn or extra cards every turn. But the idea is you have this kind of critical mass of card advantage threats. They're all cards that clock your opponent while also improving your hand. And so Riddler works as like the late game version of Frog, or like Kaito 3 through 6, or whatever you want to put it as. It's just you have your early game card advantage threats like these, you have your mid game card advantage threats like these, and you have your late game card advantage threats like these. And buff on Riddler is if you use up all your free stuff early, then you just get to warp it and draw 2 in like the middle of the game when you also are holding up interaction. Yeah, trying out Drown in the Lock just to see how it feels with like no flages in the format. Not a lot of people are playing Frog. Yeah, no problem. It's just like, it's not going to be the same way that everybody decides their build or to build their Dimir variant or whatnot, but it's what has been working for me, and it's why I chose the cards that I did. So when people ask, like, why are you running Tasigur? I can say something like, oh, because it's a threat. It allows you to empty your hand quickly to get to Quantum Riddler. It is card advantage late game. Basic Mountain Go. Just going to be this deck from now until the end of time. I don't have anything in the main deck that cares about white mana, so blow that up if they want to. All right, so I could play out Tasigur. Seems slightly ambitious. So I guess we're going to see if our opponent's nice enough to, like, Chandra on the stack. Or I guess they can't. They need double Field of the Ruin, or Field of Ruin, to fix their mana to be able to cast Chandra. What a time to be alive. I also love this, where it's like, I'm going to get you on the fetch or something instead of waiting for the Surveil to mess that up. Really good top deck. If we can kind of do it all here. Thought sees you. All right, what's my play? Road, Solitude, Chandra. So I could take a road, play out Tasigur. If they go for Solitude, I probably have to counterspell a Chandra. They find a land, they can Chandra plus Discharge, and that would suck. Maybe I just have to take the Solitude or the Erode. The Erode. Or he didn't. Pass it back. I'm going to save this sink into super in hand. In case maybe I get Sling to sink. I doubt I will, but you never know. All right, so we've got Solitude, Wrath of the Skies, Galvanic Discharge. Spell this. Force a negation. Okay. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? So, them playing Galvanic Discharge here, to me, signals they have another piece of red interaction, correct? Correct? We all agree? If their second piece of interaction is another copy of Galvanic Discharge, and I let this resolve, I run the risk of them using Field of Ruin to blow up my Soporific Springs, passing to second main phase, then casting the second Galvanic Discharge. So I need to force negation this one. There's always the chance that they don't, and they just go for second discharge right now. But I leave myself open to a line I don't have to leave myself open to if I choose to let the first one resolve. And it's kind of like risk mitigation there. And it could be setting up for Wrath the Skies. It doesn't have to be a second discharge, but I think it's just safer to go ahead and counter the first one and try to like take all of the uncertainty out of the equation. Doing nothing. So, assuming they have another galvanic discharge. One, two. Oh, yeah, because they can Wrath the Skies and blow up Tasigur here if they want. Give me force negation. I guess the joys of having all live counter spells with Tasigur. Tasigur haters in shambles. All right. Bowmaster, shoot them for 1. Down to 7. Force negation this. Attack in. Is that better or worse than Tasigur activate? Force. I think I like Tasigur activate force here. Now if they give me spell snare, I can force off of that. Save my subtlety in case they find a solitude. Do I have any interest in interacting? I could Bowmaster, shoot them, like... Yeah, I like that. This is why we don't hard cast the subtlety. Psh. Tasigur. Okay. What do I want? I've seen people talking about Harbinger of the Seas being like really good in the matchup. I don't know. Like, I understand it's shutting off Field of Ruins and all that stuff, but like, they're still a Solitude deck, and if they just get 1 white mana, they can kind of do whatever they want to. So, not super thrilled with it, but I guess it's better than nothing. I'll just bring in like bad mana leak for some payoffs. I told ZKG I would not board or put anything in my board for this matchup until it gets like over 40% of the meta. Refuse to respect it. I've spent time in 16 Discords over the past 2 weeks. I think I finally nailed down my next RCQ list. Kind of jank you got going on there. Like, this is my problem with Harbinger, because Harbinger's basically dead now because of one turn 1 play. Like, they played a Plains, and now Harbinger's very mid. I would like to get a basic Swamp. For fixing my mana. All right. So I could discard Mystical Dispute and not feel bad. Do I have any interest in discarding Mystical Dispute and Subtlety? Then I can have Tasigur counterspell next turn. And then Riddler after that. I think I'm okay with that. It's like I'm assuming they're going to erode. And I'm basically trading Subtlety, Mystical Dispute, Frog for Discharge, Erode. Man, how does he know? How does he know? Here's a Tasigur. Been months since I've looked at Modern. It's cool to see Tasigur again. Well, I hope it was a lot more than a few months since you last saw a Tasigur. Want to use up this this counter spell to get me to Riddler. I was last watching your stream. It wasn't in the meta. Is it in the meta? It might be. I guess we could probably consider it in the meta. Sure. Yet again, I don't really know why they don't want to wait for me to like fetch and surveil and then make their decision on blowing stuff up, but anyway, here's Wonderwall. Those are the worst feeling hits off of Quantum Riddler when you just hit double land. All right, another discharge. They have a land, then Quarry Mountain's online. I need to find a threat. Legend of Roku. Good. Pretty not resolving, but pretty good. I'm playing pre-moderns, taking over my whole MTG experience. Pretty dope. I've heard good things about pre-moderns, just like it's not super super in my interest. Basically, like for me personally, I don't gravitate towards formats that I don't think have like a competitive endpoint. So for like pre-modern and pauper and stuff like that, they're cool. I appreciate them as Magic formats. It's just like there's never going to be a pre-modern Pro Tour. So it's hard to put it up on like the priority list. There's never going to be a Pauper Pro Tour or whatever. Opponent seeing third copy of Erode kind of sucks here. I was really hoping that Frog would get an attack in. Are they just shocking in case they hit like fourth Erode or another path or something? Second Quarry Mountain Monastery. I guess it doesn't really matter too much. It's like a lot with it. What a Riddler off the top. One of your finest Riddlers. Just Bowmaster's okay-ish. Opponent's basically doing like what I want to be doing. Just drawing an extra card every turn. What a Kaito. Kaito be sick here. Right. So I don't want Thoughtseize, other Tasigur. Probably don't want Frog here. Need 2 counter spells. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and activate Tasigur main phase. So if they give me back Quantum Riddler, I can just go ahead and warp it. A little awkward because I don't really want Spell Snare. Playing Reprieve. It's kind of funny because, like, Remand is almost unplayable, right? Or basically is unplayable. But then, like, Reprieve sees play in a lot of the more obscure white decks, like Creativity, and seen Reprieve in like Boros Energy before and stuff like that. So it's just kind of funny. Solitude. Ugh. Rude. Back Spell Snare. Ew. Okay. Okay. Um. Yeah, I think I drowned this. I try to get aggro here. Draw an extra card off Quantum Riddler. Hope that whatever they have off draws and Corey isn't good. Any decision making to warping the Riddler to get extra cards? Well, I'm gonna get extra cards with it just being on board, right? I don't need to warp it to get more cards. Bro! uh, hitting the path. Such a brutal draw. I know they've bricked on Quarry Mountain Monastery like once, but the rest of their hits have just been like Path, Erode, Legend of Roku. Pretty good targets. Almost making me want Chalice on 1 this game. Might not be bad if we go to game 3, just get Mystical Dispute out of the deck. Kaito? Game 3. And Chalice over a Dispute. Is there any world I want to Fairy? Maybe it's like not terrible on the play. How does this deck ever beat Unfair Combo? It doesn't. Just kind of one of those decks that says, well, if you're playing creatures, I'm going to curb stomp you. And if you're playing anything else, I'm going to hope you're not playing anything else. Or I play a land that is not Hallowed Fountain. So if they have a Cleansing Wildfire effect this turn, they can't take me off of white. Really funny playing Yogg into this deck because I make mana way faster than they can run me out of basics and kill my dorks. I guess we're gonna get to see if the plan has legs, right? Wonder if I have any interest in like Teferi bouncing Bowmaster. That is a no. Misses a land drop. All right, so we're just going Chalice on 1 plus Tasigur. Yes, opponent, you're reading that correctly. Tasigur. Exile March. Sure. Land. Nice. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Take that. What was my first round? I think my first round was against Burn. No, this was Neoform. That's what it was. Four or five basics in my jank. Can your jank beat land destruction? Because if no, then 12 basics. If yes, then 3 basics. Thanks for taking away one more 5-0 possibility for the land destruction deck. Just doing my duty, sir. Just doing my civic duties. Keeping the world a safe place, one goldfish 5-0 dump at a time. A jank is Necro Dominance. Well, don't you just run like all basic swamps? So opponent reveals Kahira the Orphan Guard. Wojtek, GG's. Was that you last round? Was. Much appreciated. Sorry you got a pretty bad mana screw that game 3. Ship this. Better. Felt safer gambling the lands than going to 5. That's very fair. Like, my hand was pretty good on the play, and then like every draw step just kind of got better. So, whoops. If I was on the draw, I was probably cooked, but on the play, it was pretty solid. All right, so opponent is, they bend a spell snare, and they're not representing counterspell here. I want that Bowmaster, but I want to land more. Got Fairy. Ending. Land. Land, 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 land. Still good, but I think some blue-white lists are only running 2 or so counterspells. Yeah, I've seen some cutting down to like a single counterspell. Feels like it's just not worth it at that point, but blue-white players are strange. Mini consult, eh? What am I most afraid of here? They can't Planeswalker. They didn't have Solitude last turn. Guess we'll let this go. Probably copying Gab, forgetting that it's really just skill diff instead of list choices. Thief is a beast when it comes to blue-white control, isn't he? Fight over that. Land? At least give me a land off the frog hit. Just for the fun of it. Thank you. Go. I bet that Consult grabbed the spell snare. Put a non-zero amount of dollary dues into that guesstimate. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. Modern is healing. Not enough for Teferi of Hero of Dominaria to be playable, but healing nonetheless. I would like to attack with a frog. Gonna draw our card and then Jutsu. Plus card equal good. Do I have any? This is a 4-turn, 5-turn clock if I do nothing. 4-turn clock if I uptick once, but I don't have to do that this turn. 4, 5, 4, 4, 5. 3-turn clock if I uptick twice. Go ahead and uptick. This is like why Quantum Riddler is a big deal, because it lets you get to these spots where you're just like, I'm going to start jamming Force of Negations. I'm just going to counter everything I care about. I've got my clock and clock and card advantage down already. You're going to have a very difficult time interacting with it. And then once I do use up my resources, here's a Quantum Riddler, draw more cards. Pushes out Teferi, disputes in. Could bring in Stony Silence. I don't know if they're actually on Scepter, because I didn't see Orm's Chant, I didn't see Scepter, I didn't see Narset, Days Undoing, Little Teferi. So they might just be on like no big blue-white control. It's a little mana heavy, but if we get Sceptered on turn 2. I don't hate another land, but still threat. All right, opponent, go for a Teferi. Shields are down. I don't have counterspell up. You want to jam a 3-mana planeswalker of some variety. I really wish I had like a Bowmaster to punch a hole here. We just get a Teferi plus Mystical Dispute on their end. Like, go for Teferi, I dispute, they dispute back, I dispute again. Then I get to like untap with Teferi. That'd be hot, right? There's a frog. Frog resolves. Frog resolves and they go to their turn. Ending. Cornwell. Am doing quite well. How about yourself? Ending. All right, now that I got another land, I think I'm interested in Teferi here. Who can play at this game? I guess I'm a little bit worried about them just having a prismatic ending. So go ahead and minus Teferi, get my card in. We're like big Tef, tuck my Tef. I would also like the little Tef. In this economy, well, they played one last game, so thing. So I could sink into Stupor, bounce there to Fairy. That doesn't sound too bad. I think I like that. Then I Bowmaster if they go to recast to Fairy. If they counter my Bowmaster, I get Kaito down on my turn. If they don't counter my Bowmaster, I probably get Kaito down on my turn. And the Bowman. Yep. And the Bowman bounce the token. All right. I mean, I think I just take the chance to Bowmaster down there to Fairy. Do I? Is that better than just getting Kaito on board? Yeah, I think it is. Warp Riddler here. I could go for Frog, but that kind of just plays into like a Wrath effect. Really good draw. You want a Wrath Tasigur, go right ahead. My follow up is like hard cast Riddler or Kaito or Frog or whatever. This is kind of the name of the game in the control matchup, is like putting enough pressure on board that your opponent has to respect it, but you're not over committing. And like Quantum Riddler does such a good job of making sure you're not overcommitting at any point. Yeah, you wrath my board. Here's a 4/6, and I draw 2. Bam. All right, let's get a prediction going. Yes, this is fine. They're back on Tribal Flames. I miss the old like Neshoba Brawler zoo variants. Hammer time. Oh. Tasiguring, is that a verb? B. All right, I think I'm going to respond to this Pithing Needle with Shieldred's Edict. I give them a draw off of the Sentinel, but they won't have Mox Opal online yet. I guess I could just Fatal Push. Yeah, it's just Fatal Push. Just played against Zoo in a league running Brawler and Tribal Flames. I love that so much. Like, I really, really enjoyed Zoo when it was Brawler, Tribal Flames, Neshoba Brawler, Tribal Flames, Wild Nakatl, Ragavan, all that stuff. I thought that deck was super, super cool. What's the play here? Just get Tasigur down. Should a Pithing Needle named Tasigur? Maybe don't have a third land, please. Big bucks, no third land. Big bucks, no third. Damn it. Subtlety's not bad. Go ahead and kill this now. With this Mox Opal, like, I want to restrict mana as much as I can. Not a perfect strategy, but like I could go for Drown in the Lock here and they could float mana while it's resolving. Or were they still, they were still on Scion Leyline, right? I liked it before Leyline. I felt like Leyline just gave you a lot of clunky draws. Second copy of stupid Urza Saga. Price is a creature token. Can we ban this stupid card yet? Reason we have to suffer through it in the format. Recently moved from blue-black mid to Goryo's, and the second time I watch your stream, you're going 4-0 or better with fair blue-black. Might make me regret my choice soon. Apologize if I make you regret your choice. Another land is decent. So if they make, I can attack in, if they make a construct and go to activate the Ink Moth, I can drown and kill the Ink Moth. And if they take the damage like this, then I have some potential lethal lines next turn. Urza Saga is Modern's Workshop. Urza Saga is like a stupid, messed up card. And I really have no idea how people like justify this being fine in the format or in any format. Like, I feel like people want to look at Urza Saga in regards to a spell and say like, oh, well, it's pay 6 mana, make 2 constructs, and tutor up an artifact. And it's not. It's a land. Like, you can't counter it. The ability to interact with lands in Modern is shit in general. Like, you're really, really bad at interacting with lands in this format. It makes constructs when you want to make constructs, but you don't have to. Self-strip mine, fair and balanced. I really hate they made it not die to moon effects. I think if they hadn't have done that, I would be way more in the camp of like, Urza Saga is reasonable-ish. But as soon as they made it not die to moon effects, then it became like, this card is hellacious to deal with. All right, now just don't attack with that one. The removal spell on top. That is a removal spell for all intents and purposes. I can just attack, right? I don't have to Kaito. I'm just thinking about this in terms of if they happen to have like a path to exile. Then I think ninjutsuing's better. 90s MTG coming in with a raid. Thank you so much. Welcome, welcome everybody. Hope you had an awesome stream. Tasigur indeed. Tasigur the golden get wrecked hammer time. But yeah, the reason to go for the ninjutsu there instead of hard casting is like if this is a piece of interaction, or like they force a negation Kaito because they're on white, then they have blocked Tasigur. I'm not presenting lethal with the other two, but if I ninjutsu, then if they do end up like killing one of these, they have to fetch, go to 3. They're dead to Kaito ninjutsu. If they have something that stays alive, I can at least stun the construct. Got a whole lot of pest controls for this matchup. I say for this matchup, this is not a matchup that's like on my radar at all. So if they're splashing blue, could be for Cryptic Coat, could be for Consign in the sideboard, Bell Pierce, something like that. Probably about it. It's pest control for Urza's. It's for affinity, but it does clean up Urza or construct tokens, which is really nice. But it's mostly for affinity and any of like the small aggro creature decks. Like it was for Boros energy, but we don't know how much Boros we're playing. What format? Modern. Modern, the people's format. I know it looks like Legacy when there's a Kaito on the battlefield. What am I doing? One more cut. I might just cut another Quantum Riddler or extra Kaito. It's basically Legacy Light. We get Bowmaster, we get Kaito, get Force Negation. Diet Legacy. But since y'all are coming from the 90s MTG raid, I met Roland. Is that the correct name? Over at the Strike Zone booth in Cincinnati. Super, super nice. Sold some stuff over there. I know he said he had connections to the 90s MTG channel. All right, opponent lost connection, is back again. Still contemplating whether they want to join the game, I guess. You think we can get some Grixis Reanimator after this league, please? If we trophy, I'll play a league with Grixis Reanimator. How about that? Now, I tell you ahead of time, I do not have experience playing Grixis Reanimator. So I am not guaranteeing super clean, perfect gameplay or anything of the such. So if that makes you change your mind, don't say I didn't warn you. That's an opener. uh, Lay. Teferi. Okay. I think I have to untap and go for the pest control, right? I can't afford for them to. Ooh. All right, so we got like pest control into Shieldred's Edict. Plus Fatal Push. But if we didn't pest control, we're at risk of like White Source, the 2-mana dude, equip up Ink Moth with Lightning Axe, Hammer, whatever, kill you. Cryptic Coat. All right, what's my play? Do I want to Thoughtseize, Edict the Teferi? Do I want to Edict Teferi, push Stoneforge? These push Delta Tassie. Well, I won't have a third black source because I have this Hallowed Fountain out. I kind of think it's like Thoughtseize, Tasigur. Or do I need to go for the Rebuke because no? Do I need to go for the Edict because I know about Rebuke? Tasigur down. All right, so if I go Fatal Push, Stoneforge, I can attack it Tasigur, or attack it Teferi. If they want to make a construct, that's fine. They let Teferi go down. I think I just play Stony Silence here. This way they can't do anything with whatever they get off of Saga. If they want to bounce the Tasigur. Yep, sure. Nope. Got hammers. Or other surveil here. Push has got to be fine, right? Like reasonably high floor. And if they don't do anything, I can start activating Tasigur. All right. Sure. Tasigur. Who doesn't love this card? Tasigur on the trophy board again. Love to see it. Love to see it. All right. Let's do a quick little breakdown of the league. How did it go? What do we think was good? What do we think was bad? Everything was fantastic. Deck's perfect. No changes. 10 out of 10. Would Tasigur again? Might be a little ambitious. All right, let's actually look at stuff. Spell Pierce never came up. Never cast it the entire league. I don't think I cast it against the Neoform player either. So if you want a little bit of extra tech against the Cascade decks, play Spell Pierce. If you're not interested in more tech against the Cascade decks, just play second Spell Snare or third Thoughtseize. Either one. Counterspell great. Frog great. Bowmaster good. Drown in the Lock was live every time I cast it. It always did what I wanted it to do that entire league. Not having flages, there's not a lot of opposing frogs to deal with. And I really like the versatility of being able to kill stuff when you don't want to counter things. So against like that Hammer Time matchup, it came up that we could kill construct tokens with it. Can't do that with a counterspell or a spell snare or whatever else would be in that spot. The forces and the subtleties, great. Quantum Riddler, great. Tasigur, fantastic as always. So many spots that, like, we couldn't act. Okay. Whenever I go back through and I put this league on YouTube, I'm going to try to get a count of how many times Tasigur was cast with 3 lands available and 3 cards in the graveyard. Like, spots that you physically could not cast a Murktide Regent, but you can cast a Tasigur, because I think that came up several times. Kaito, great as always. Sideboard, Pest Control was really good. Chalice of the Void was excellent against Living End. Fairy was good. Dispute's great. Yeah, you've seen these cards a billion times. You know what they do. Everything perfect. 20 out of 20.